Once again, it's time for Once Upon a Time. Is this right? Welcome to 401 Stories. Episode number 1. The Monkey and the Firefly. Once upon a time there was a monkey who lived in the forest just below the mountains. Now he was not the smartest of monkeys, but he liked to explore, and he liked to discover new things. One day he was out exploring, and he got lost. And as happens with everybody when they get lost, the harder he tried to find his way home, the more lost he became. Before he knew it, he had wandered into the mountains, and he was very, very cold. This monkey, in fact, had never been so cold in his entire life. He came up with a couple of ideas to warm up. First, he tried covering himself up with leaves, but the slightest breeze just blew his blanket right off of him. Second, he tried covering himself up with dirt, but that just made his hair itchy. Third, there was no third. He was all out of ideas. Well, just then, the monkey spotted a man walking up the mountain pass. Now, this monkey may not have been the smartest monkey, but he could spot a hunter when he saw one. So the monkey hid behind a large boulder, and he watched, and he waited. The hunter was wandering around gathering up sticks and small branches. He set them up in a neat little pile, like a tiny little hut. Now the wind picked up, so the man moved, standing momentarily in between the monkey and what he was working on. The monkey quickly dashed to behind a tree so that he could have a better view of what was going on, and when he did, he saw that the man had a tiny little spark of a fire going. He was on his knees, blowing on it, and each breath made it grow bigger and bigger. And before long, the man had added some branches, and the fire crackled, and even behind his tree, hidden away, the monkey could feel some of the heat. It felt good. But the monkey still knew that he needed to keep his distance from the hunter. And so, he had an idea. He was going to make his own fire. So the monkey remembered what he had seen, and he gathered up a bunch of twigs and sticks, and then he made his own tiny little hut. And then he needed a little spark of a fire, but he hadn't seen how the hunter had made it, or where he had found it. The monkey was sitting down, thinking, when in the distance, he saw a bright little flash of light zooming along the sky. He followed it for some time until it landed on the ground. He quietly snuck up and he pounced. He had caught it. He had caught it in his hands. The monkey slowly opened his hands and...
Hey! 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 What do you think you're doing?
It was a tiny little bug. So small, in fact, that the monkey could barely see the look of anger and fury on its face.
I am making a fire.
So? So what? What does that have to do with me?
You have fire. I saw you.
So the monkey quickly carried the bug over to his pile of sticks, and he stuck him inside like it was a little cage. The bug tried and tried, but he could not move the sticks. The monkey thought for a moment, and then he remembered what the hunter had done next. So he got down on his hands and knees, and he blew on the sticks and the little bug inside as hard as he could.
Oh, stop it! Your breath is terrible. horrible.
Why is your fire not working?
Because I don't have any fire. You big dummy.
I never seen a bug like you before. What are you?
I'm a firefly.
You said fire! You said fire!
No, 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 no!
And the monkey blew and blew and blew on the firefly regardless of how much he complained. He blew until he ran out of breath, and he blew until he fell on the ground, tired and cold. And as he laid there, he was eye level with that little firefly.
So, do you believe me now?
I am cold.
I know. There, you big dumb ape. Look, if you can trust me enough to set me free, I promise to help you.
You promise?
I promise. I promise, and I promise, and I promise.
You promise to not fly away? You promise to not leave me cold on the ground?
I give you my word.
Oh. Okay.
And so the monkey, he let that firefly out of his cage, and the firefly lit up, and he zoomed into the air, laughing at the monkey.
Sucker!
No! You promised me! Oh!
The monkey cried as the firefly flew higher and higher and higher out of sight.
Big old dummy. Who does he think he is, capturing me and grabbing me, putting me in his big old stinky hands, blowing on me with his gross old banana?
And so the firefly stopped to rest on a branch, and when he looked down, he saw the monkey, shivering and crying, trying to keep himself warm once again with leaves. It was the most pathetic sight he had ever seen in his entire life. And the firefly, he realized that he had made a promise. He had given his word, and he should keep it. So the firefly flew to the hunter's campfire, and he tried to work out a plan to get a little spark of fire for that monkey. He first tried to lift up a twig so that he could steal some of the fire, but it was far too heavy for him to manage. So he picked up an old dry leaf, held it under his arm, and zoomed by the fire. The edge of the leaf caught at once, and he left the front of the leaf under his arm as he flew back towards the monkey. Now the firefly was feeling pretty good about himself and his good deed as he zoomed towards that monkey, but he didn't notice the fire slowly creeping its way up the old leaf. The monkey spotted him and his flame as he grew closer.
You came back! You came back!
Of course I came back!
For it was at that moment that the fire had reached up and spread from the leaf onto the firefly's...
Why are you yelling at me?
Get out of the way! Get out of the way, you big dummy! My butt's on fire!
And the firefly flew as fast as he could, past the monkey, and crashed into the sticks. A small flame took to one of the twigs, and the firefly began rolling around and around and around in the dirt, trying to put out the fire that had engulfed his entire butt.
What do I do now?
Oh, man! Blow, 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 blow! Not on me, you big goof! The fire! The fire! The fire!
And he did. And the fire roared up, and the monkey was warm. This, by the way, is why nowadays the light of the firefly flickers in and out. You see, the flame from that leaf burned something inside of him, and he can no longer control his light the way that he once did. The firefly is still beautiful to watch and is still fun to catch. And he might do you a good deed as well, just so long as you remember to set him free. The Monkey and the Firefly was written, recorded, and performed by me, Joe Thoreau. It is loosely based on the short story Foolish Monkeys, found on the website kidsworldfun.com, a great free resource for educators and parents. The theme music is the song Lost River by the band Murder by Death and is used here with their permission. 401 Stories can be found on iTunes or wherever you choose to download and stream your podcasts. For more information, you can visit me online at 401stories.com or search Facebook for 401 Stories. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at Joseph Thoreau. I sincerely hope you enjoyed today's story, and thank you very much for listening.